After 9 long months, the Deeb is back. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Bland Gaming, the most boring and inept and underperforming internet channel. I'm your host, Deeb, coming to you from the house today, taking the day off because I'm fighting a little bit of a sore throat and a cold, which brings me to my activities last evening. Because I've been in isolation and I have painted probably, 20 or 30 tanks in a matter of 3 days for Flames of War, I decided to take a break last night and break out the Final Girl. I'm a huge fan of Final Girl. I don't like solitaire games. I don't play solitaire games by myself, but this subject matter and the execution on this game is just outstanding. And it's funny, every time I sit down and think that I'm going to sit down and play it, I go, well, I don't really want to get a board game out all by myself and play all by myself. For me, gaming is a very social activity. However, because I was sick, I was like, well, I'll get it out and I'll play it. And every time I play it, I sit there and I go, why don't I play this more? This is such a fun game. If you live in a cabin out in the tundra of Alaska, why don't you own this game? This would be the way that I would satisfy my board gaming itch. That's how I'd scratch it, is with this game here. So I've already done a review of Final Girl Series 2. I really enjoyed all of the boxes, all the stories. I have since purchased individually, which you can buy for, I think these are about $20. And you can buy the individual chapters themselves from Series 1. This is the Dr. Fright one. This is like the Freddy Krueger clone. But I went out and I bought, one by one, I kind of bought all of them. And then I just recently backed Final Girl Series 3, which is no longer on Kickstarter, but they haven't delivered it yet. And one of the cool things that you got is you got the opportunity, I didn't get it for free, I got the opportunity to buy it, but it's a Krampus-themed Final Girl where Mrs. Claus is one of the Final Girls, which I thought was pretty cool. As you can see, I haven't opened it yet with the shrink wrap. It was a very busy holiday. I hope you guys had a really good holiday. So I couldn't decide. The one that of the Series 1 that I really wanted to try out, I either wanted to try out Geppetto or I wanted to try out the Poltergeist. And of course, I'm assuming that you know something about Final Girl. If you've since you're watching this video here, that all of the creatures and the locations are they are interchangeable. So you could use the organism, which is kind of like the Thing clone. You can use that in the Creech Manor location. You could use, the Poltergeist here in Wolf Asylum, which is almost like the Silent Hill kind of setting and everything. Okay, so anyway, I have played of the Final Girl. I played Poltergeist last night. I'll spoiler alert, I did win the scenario, and I'll kind of tell you how things went, and then I'll kind of give you my afterthoughts on it, and I'll tell you how it compares to the other ones. The very first one I played in my original was the Alien. Clone, the Evomorph on the USS Conrad. I beat that. I really enjoyed it, but I will tell you the reason why I beat that one was because I was able to find like the power loader very quickly in the scenario. I have played the Ratchet Lady in Wolf Asylum. I've played this one twice and got the crap kicked out of me both times. She is bad news, that Ratchet Lady. And this one is kind of like a it reminds me of like Silent Hill, but in an insane asylum. It's really, really cool. And then I have played the Station 280, 2891 with the organism. It's kind of like the Thing clone. I have played that. I did not beat that scenario. It was good. I like that scenario. So far, I will tell you that of those games, the ones that I played, I loved all of them. But if I had to choose a favorite, it would probably be either the Evomorph one, because I'm such a fan of the original Alien, or this one. I really liked the Poltergeist. This was so cool, and it was genuinely creepy. So let's talk about what you have, okay? So in the location, we'll talk about the Creech Manor here. So in the Creech Manor, the only thing that you need to know that is a little bit different is that you have these one-way exits. This is actually a ladder that's going up and down, which you can get in and out of the building with that way. There is a tire swing here, and these little arrows mean that it's one way only. So you can only go out of that location into the escape location. These are your safe locations where you can escape to. Your search areas are the garage, the closet, and then the attic. And then there are also arrow locations like here. There's this like hole in the floor where you can go down, but you can't go back up. You gotta go in the stair spaces here, here, and here in order to ascend. And then there's also one up here that gets you up into the attic. So that is the base of the Creech Manor. Your exits are outside. There's one accessible via the ladder. There's one from the front door where you run out the front door, and then there's also one where you can slide down the tire swing here, which was ultimately how I escaped in the very last scenario here. Okay, and let's talk about the Poltergeist. I think is one of the most interesting and coolest antagonists in this entire series. So unlike the other killers and murderers in this game, you cannot kill the Poltergeist. You only avoid the Poltergeist, and the objective of the Poltergeist, when you're playing with the Poltergeist, there's 2 cards that are in the set every time. There's Carolyn, who is very synonymous with Carol Ann from Poltergeist, the movies. You have to find her, and you have to get her out of the house, and then you win the scenario. Also unique. So Carolyn is always in your search decks, which are up here. Okay. So Carolyn is always going to be either in the attic, the closet, or the garage. And then also Mr. Floppy is something that is a unique piece that has to be in every single scenario too. It's Carolyn's little... It's her little stuffed animal, her little whoopee, and you can actually use it to lure her. I never found it. I found Carolyn. I got very lucky in this scenario, and I'll talk about that. So in the starting, when I played, this was my starting set location here. Let me get out of the way here so you can focus on it. There we go. So you can see that I was in the lower right-hand corner. I was in the ballroom with 2 other people. The Poltergeist was directly across from us. And the big advantage of this was right away I started out with a lot of victims that were very close to this exit right here. So that was very beneficial to me. And then my very first event card that I had was this one here where I put 3 victims in the foyer, panicked them immediately. So when I sent them, when all 3 I rolled, 1 went this way, 1 came towards me, and 1 actually went outside. None of them went towards the Poltergeist, which was right here. I did, back this on Kickstarter and whatnot. Sorry, I'm not going to say end everything and whatnot from now on because you guys have been giving me so much crap about it. Anyway, I did back this on Kickstarter. This one here, I just bought separately. There's a little set that you could buy. It's just the Series 1 miniatures. So I ordered this from the Van Ryder Games website. I want to say it was 20 or 30 bucks. It's really reasonable. And as you can see, the miniatures themselves, they're small. They have to be. But they look great. And I had to choose Alice. I was Alice here. So right out of the bat, I had the advantage of being able to move and rescue in the first turn. I was able to rescue 4 people. And if you look here on Alice, what I did was I used the rescues to buy me more time. Then I went ahead and moved these spaces here to evacuate even more people out the front door. So eventually I had all of these filled up with the exception of the 2 hearts. And that was all within the first or second turn. So things were going very, very well for me. I made my way up to the closet upstairs here. By the time I got up to the closet, there were a whole bunch of very awful things that were happening. The Poltergeist was zooming through the house. She killed at least 4 starting out, so she was gaining in power very quickly. And as you can see, she was up to moving 2 spaces and doing 2 hits each time that she moved, and I was doing the best that I could to avoid her. She also got this unseen forces minor power, which was really cool. I did not find Carolyn when this was activated. So basically what this does is every time you move, the very first space you have to move, you have to roll the panic die. So you'd roll your 6-sided die, and if I was, say, like right in this spot here, and if I moved 2 spaces, if I rolled a 1 or a 2, I would move into the trophy room, or I would move here if I rolled a 3. If I rolled a 6, I'd go down the foyer. So that was very frustrating for me to deal with, which meant that I wound up using my sprint card a lot more than just the regular walk card. So I tried to sprint as often as possible, and then on turns when I was not using the sprint cards, I was using things like distraction and focus, which are these cards here, to try and keep the horror level down here at a manageable level. Once I got up into the closet, really, I won't lie to you, a lot of this game is luck. So when I got in the closet, I went ahead and got myself a crucifix. I wasn't really excited about since you can't hurt the poltergeist, I wasn't really excited about picking up weapons or anything like that. There was a shotgun available, there was a knife that was available in the weapons piles, and I just thought to myself, well, why would I want something like that? Because you can't hurt the poltergeist. Well, later I found a very cruel card here that even though you don't fight the poltergeist will send like minions, or she'll manifest herself as physical things. And in this case here, she had this corporeal form where she came at me, and I had no defenses, I had no weapons whatsoever. The only thing that saved me was I had actually picked up this crucifix here, and I discarded that so that I was able to just ignore that terror card, which I thought was pretty cool. So I continued to search into the pile there as I was in the closet. As a matter of fact, at one point I was in the closet here, and the poltergeist was in there, and I was just shrugging off her attacks as I was using guard cards to just to shrug off her attacks the best I could, until I was able to search the pile there to make sure that Carolyn wasn't in there. And the gamble paid off, because Carolyn was actually in that pile. So once I had Carolyn, I just hightailed. I used sprint cards running all the way down until I could get to this location right here, and then we ran out. I had one more victim that was with me, and I wound up winning the scenario. I think that it captures the feel of Poltergeist so well, and of a creepy ghost story, because the entire time, and then this activated too. This was another thing that was totally awesome. I turned this back over because I liked looking at the picture there, but the stiff wind activated once the bloodlust got up to this point here. It activated her dark power, and all of my moves of 2 or more are reduced by 1 space. So that made the sprint even more important. But I used some sprint and walk cards to go ahead and get me out of there as quick as possible. At the end of the scenario, I think I had lost 2, and then I had actually gained 1 back through one of the cards that I had. But yeah, it was such a great scenario, and the terror cards were just genuinely creepy here. This one, everything was flying around. Like the poltergeist is like literally assaulting either the final girl or the victims with, things that she could find around the house. This was cool. They hear voices, and the victims actually all would go up 1 level, which was inconvenient because the number 1 exit out is through the foyer there. This was one of the last ones here, which was absolutely terrible. The poltergeist ran 3 spaces towards me and killed each victim in each space. She must have killed like 3 victims in one play when she came running, and that was when she ran right at me when I was in the closet there, and she killed like 3 or 4 victims on the way. I mean, Carol Ann's obviously got a pretty extended family here, because you got all these people here, and then she's got these over here. So I don't know, maybe it was a reunion, but anyway, overall, I got very lucky. I'm gonna play it tonight. I'm gonna try and play a scenario that I haven't played before. I'll probably play Geppetto. I kind of want to save the Krampus one for, I love Christmas, so I want to maybe save that for a Christmas time one. Had this gotten unlocked here. Yeah, she gets Relentless Assault, place a Poltergeist in your space, and then she gets 2 attacks. So she was really on our heels when we were running out, and thank goodness that Power Swing was there. And also I had a lot of sprint cards in my deck. But overall, definitely, this was one of my 2 favorite scenarios. I enjoyed the alien one, but this one was just the genuine ghost story creepy to it. And again, the thing that made the Poltergeist so incredibly interesting is that she has no damage. She takes no damage at all. The only thing that you can do is rescue the little girl and get her out of there. And I love how it just shamelessly copies the movie Poltergeist. That is absolutely wonderful. I love that it did that. Let's see what some of these other terror cards are that I didn't even get. Shadows are closing in. Looks like a horror. More shadows are closing in. And then this one actually is awful, because when you get Carolyn, she actually gets shuffled into the, she runs away and gets shuffled into the nearest deck there. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, great game. I had a great time doing it. Thanks for tuning in. There was no drink of the day today because I'm doing dry January. I do have some coffee boiling. Oh, and you know, this was really cool too. And I read this just really quick. You can buy this separately. I bought the lore scenario. And what was really cool is I read this scenario, the background for this scenario. And in 1912, it turns out that the Poltergeist she was the wife of a super rich investor guy who lost a ton of money. And then he wound up hanging himself in the, he hung himself in the attic. And then what she wound up doing was she took some rat poison with her champagne, miscalculated it, and it took her a very long and agonizing time to die. And that's why her spirit is restless. And then in I think it's 57, a little boy was smothered living in the house by a clown that he had gotten at a carnival, a little stuffed clown, and he had been smothered by it the next morning. And then in 1982, 81, there was the wife of the owner was talking about how the tree was beckoning to her, and she kind of went into a state of trance and stepped out as the tree was calling out to her, stepped out to be with the tree, and then fell to her death. And then obviously then we're here in the modern day with, I don't know, they were throwing some sort of a party or something here when this thing happened. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I do have, I know I haven't been doing a lot. It's because my work has been kind of gearing up and everything is kind of moving full speed ahead as I'm approaching my retirement this summer. I do have a bunch of role-playing games that I'm reading and have not had a chance to review, and I know you guys like those the best, so I'll work on doing some reviews on those as soon as I can get some free time. So anyway, this is Deeb. This is Bland Gaming. It's boring. It's awful. Thanks for tuning in. I do have another thing too, and I'll probably say this in my other video, but one of my friends who works in IT has actually talked about helping me snazz up the channel here. And if that is the case, and if for some reason it becomes not so bland, maybe then I will rename the channel Not So Bland Gaming. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Again, this is Deeb, your host, and I'll see you in the next one.